remind you of where we were last week. Because from Leviticus 1 to Numbers chapter 10, verse 10, is a 48-day period. So Leviticus 1 to Numbers 10:10 is a 48-day period. Now, from Exodus 12 to Numbers 10, it's been 13 months. It's been 13 months. And from Mount Sinai, they've been there 11 months. So from the Exodus until Numbers 10:10 is 13 months. From Mount Sinai, where God speaks to them out of the fire and the smoke and the top of the mountain, they've been there 11 months. And from Leviticus 1:1 to Numbers 10:10 is 48 days. And so when we pick up in chapter 10, verse 11, and that's where we were last week, they are going to the Jordan River to prepare to cross and go into the Promised Land. That's where they're headed. That's where they go. They pack everything up. We talked about this morning how you pack it all up. They packed it all up. They went. Everybody, the priests, the Levites, Judah, all the tribes, the Ark of the Covenant. They pack it all up and take off to go to the Jordan River, to the edge of the Promised Land, to go into the Promised Land right now. God sends them to go into the Promised Land right now. So technically 13 days, 13 years, 13 months and a couple of days, several days, they're going to be ready to cross the Jordan and go into the Promised Land. That's what God's doing right now. And so where we were last week is chapter 10, verse 11 through 36. Israel leaves Sinai. And we ended with verse 35 and 6 of chapter 10. Whenever the ark set out, Moses said, "Arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered, and let those who hate you flee before you." And when it rested, he said, "Return, O Lord, to the 10,000 thousands of Israel." So, and they do it. They're doing what God has told them to do. They go to the Jordan River. They go to where they're going to cross. And they're being obedient. We come to chapter 11. So in chapter 11, the people complained. And if you are taking notes or you're writing in your Bible with a pencil, you can write beside that verse 1 of chapter 11, rebellion. Rebellion. Rebellion has come. The people complained. Now think about what they've seen, and we talked about this last week too. Think about what they've seen. Think about what they can just look up in the air and see. They've seen Egypt destroyed. They've been given money and jewels and gold and silver and clothing by the Egyptians as they left. They looted Egypt. They've seen the Red Sea part. They've seen God turn bad water into good water by Moses just throwing a stick in the water at Marah. God has been feeding them every day with this thing called manna. They get up, it's there. They gather it, they cook with it, they eat it, they cook it. And God is providing and providing, not to stay in the wilderness, but so they can go into the promised land. And the people complained. They complained in the hearing of the Lord about their misfortunes. They've been delivered from 430 years of slavery. Every need they've needed, God has met. They have watched Him do it. All they have to do is tilt their head backwards and look up. And at night they see a pillar of fire, and in the daytime they see a pillar of cloud. And they complain about their misfortunes. And when Yahweh, when they're the covenant God of all of Israel, the I am that I am, when Yahweh heard it, His anger was kindled, and the fire of Yahweh burned among them and consumed some outlying parts of the camp. So remember, they're on their way to the camp. They're on their way. It takes a few days to get there. I think maybe 6 days, I think. They're on their way. They've got to stop where they are, camp. Get up, leave. They don't set the tabernacle up and camp around it. They're moving. They keep moving. And they complain. And God consumes some of the outlying parts of the camp. That's all verse 1. Verse 2. Then the people cried out to Moses. They still don't get it. Moses is their intercessor. Moses is their go-between. And Moses prayed to the Lord as they were being consumed on the outskirts of the camp, as they were being consumed by fire. Moses prayed to Yahweh, and the fire died down in that place where they were at that time. So the name of that place was called Tabah. Now, if you look at it, it looks like it's Taberah. It's pronounced Tabah, because the fire of the Lord burned among them. This word Tabah means burning. I've got a friend in Haiti who lives in Tabah. I don't know who came up with naming it that, but somebody did. Somebody named it that, and it's spelled exactly like this. So the rabble, which is an interesting word, the troublemakers, the gripers, the complainers, the instigators, the rabble that was among them had a strong craving. And the people of Israel also wept again and said, "Oh, that we had meat to eat." Now they're on their way to the promised land. Milk, honey, all the grapes, all the everything. God's about to bring them across, and here they are on the way there, complaining, griping against God and Moses. And the people of Israel also wept again and said, "Oh, that we had meat to eat." We remember the fish we ate in Egypt that cost nothing. Think about that. The cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our strength is dried up, and there is nothing at all but this manna to look at. Now you get up, you look on the ground, God's provided. You look up in the air, there's God's presence. You look at the procession, and you see all the Levites that are carrying the tabernacle of God that allows them to come into the presence of God and sacrifice to God so that He won't consume them. And He has come and found them, brought Moses to bear, brought them out, parted the Red Sea, given them water, given them food, taking them to the promised land, and all they know how to do is complain. And now they voice what they're thinking. That I wish we had meat to eat. We had meat to eat back in Egypt. Look, we had fish back in Egypt. We had melons and cucumbers and leeks and onions and garlic. But now, this is a lie. Our strength is dried up. I don't know what's in manna, but I'll tell you what, God was providing for them every day, and He was keeping them healthy every day. In fact, you'll see in chapter later, when they go into the 40 years, at the end of it, when they get to Deuteronomy and they get ready to cross over, He reminds them, your clothes didn't wear out these 40 years, and your shoes didn't wear out these 40 years. I've provided for you all that you've ever needed through this whole time, and they're lying. Their heart is wrong. But now our strength is dried up, and there is nothing at all but this manna, and plenty of it. And so, the manna was like coriander seed, and its appearance like that of bdellium. The people went, and it was white. It was a white wafer. I'd love to see some of it. The people went about and gathered it and ground it in hand mills, and they beat it in mortars and boiled it in pots and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was like the taste of cakes baked with oil. When the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell with it. They get up, fresh food. They don't have to eat it forever. God is providing for them until they get to the promised land, where you'll provide even more. But here in the wilderness, where there is nothing, He's feeding 1 million people. Moses heard the people weeping throughout their clans as he walked through the camps, as he walked by the people. He heard the clans, everybody's crying. He heard at the door of their tents what they were saying, weeping. The anger of the Lord blazed hotly, and Moses was displeased. Moses said to the Lord, Yahweh, why have you dealt ill with your servant? Why have you treated me like this? Why have you put me in charge of these people? Why have I not found favor in your sight, that you lay the burden of all this people on me? Did I conceive all this people? Did I give them birth? You should say to me, carry them in your bosom as a nurse carries a nursing child. to the land that you swore to give their fathers? Where am I to get meat to feed, to give to all this people? And they wept before me, and they weep before me and say, give us meat that we may eat. I'm not able to carry all these people alone. The burden is too heavy for me. If you will treat me like this, kill me at once. If I find favor in your sight, that I may not see my wretchedness. If I find favor in your sight, kill me right now. I mean, I think Moses, it wouldn't have bothered him one bit. He was sick of them. And the Lord said to Moses, gather for me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them to the tent of meeting, and let them take their stand there with you. And I will come down and talk with you there. And I will take some of the Spirit that is on you and put it on them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you may not bear it yourself alone. And say to the people, consecrate yourselves. Tomorrow God's coming to talk to us. Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow you shall eat meat. For you have wept in the hearing of Yahweh, saying, who will give us meat to eat? For it is better for us in Egypt. It was better for us in Egypt. It was better when we were slaves. It was better when we were separated. It was better when we were in Egypt. Therefore, Yahweh will give you meat, and you shall eat. In fact, verse 19, you shall not eat just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 10 days, or 20 days, but a whole month. And you're going to eat until it comes out at your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you have rejected the Lord who is among you. Look up. The Lord who's leading you. You've rejected the Lord who is among you, leading you, feeding you, watering you, giving you manna. And now I'm going to give you quail, I'm going to give you meat until it comes out your nose. You've rejected the Lord who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why did we come out of Egypt? Well, buddy, you didn't come out of Egypt. You didn't do it. You didn't pick it. God came. God sent you the message. God sent Moses and Aaron. God raised you up. You were excited. God brought you out. Through all the plagues, God brought you out as they gave you money and gold and silver and clothing. God brought you out and crossed the Red Sea with you and destroyed the Egyptian army on top of all the other parts of Egypt that are destroyed. Why did we come out of Egypt? What did you do? If it was you, you would still be in Egypt. I brought you out. But Moses said, the people among whom I am number 600,000 on foot. And you have said, I will give them meat, that they may eat a whole month. And Moses' response is, shall flocks and herds be slaughtered for them, to be enough for them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, and be enough for them? there's not enough meat here to feed them. Now Moses is telling them what God said. And they're going to go back and tell the people what God said. These 70. So Moses is hearing from God and telling the 70, and the 70 are going to go to all their tribes and tell them, and the leaders in those tribes are going to go tell all the people of the tribes. They're going to tell them all these things. And Moses, in the middle of hearing this, says, are we going to kill all of our animals? All of our herds? All of our flocks? And the Lord said to Moses, is the Lord's hand shortened? Now you shall see whether my word will come true for you or not. Is my hand shortened? Have I all of a sudden lost power? Moses? So Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and he gathered 70 men of the elders of the people and placed them around the tent. And the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to them, and took some of the Spirit that was on him and put it on the 70 elders. And as soon as the Spirit rested on them, they prophesied. It was limited. It was for a short time, but they prophesied to the people. They did not continue doing it. While all this is going on, 2 men remained in the camp. One named Eldad and the other named Medad. And the Spirit rested on them. They were among those registered, but they had not gone out to the tent. So they hadn't heard this. And so they prophesied in the camp. But the Holy Spirit that's resting on these 2 guys, they began to prophesy. And a young man ran and told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. And Joshua the son of Nun, the assistant of Moses from his youth, said, my Lord Moses, stop them. But Moses said to him, are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and the Lord would put his Spirit on them. And Moses and the elders returned to the camp. The next day, a wind from Yahweh sprang up and brought quail from the sea and let them fall beside the camp, about a day's journey on this side and a day's journey on the other side around the camp, and about 2 cubits above the ground. And the people rose all that day, and all the people rose all that day and night, and all the next day, and gathered the quail. Those who gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves all around the camp, while the meat was yet between their teeth, before it was consumed. The anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord struck down the people with a very great plague. Therefore the name of the place was Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who had the craving. From Kibroth Hattaavah the people journeyed to Hazeroth, and they remained at Hazeroth. And so I'm going to close there. I feel really weak. I think my sugar's dropped. And so I'm just sweaty, and I'm sorry. So, but you see here what's going on with Moses and what's going on with the people of Israel. Because in chapter 12, that's when they're going to send people into the promised land. And so here God shows them, I can feed you, I can care for you, I'm going to give you meat for a month. And everybody would say, that's impossible. And God did it anyway. So with that, I'm going to have Logan come.
Yeah, that second room there's like a clear tote that has like Teddy Grahams and stuff in it, I think. Maybe good. All right, let's all stand. Oh, I had to unmute me there. Check 1, 2. Check, test, 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 test. Check, check, check. Check 1. There. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. God be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, I thy true Son. Dwelling, and I with thee one. Riches I heed not, no man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance, now and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure thou art. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joy so bright, heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever before. Still be my vision, O ruler of all. Be thou my glory, the source of my life. May I cling to the cross and Christ above upholds the
chosen a sinner like you. You dance over me while I am unaware. You sing all around, but I never hear the sound. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. How you love me. You paint the morning sky with miracles in mind. My hope will always stand, for you hold me in your hand. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. How you love me. How deep, how wide, how great is your love for me. How deep, how wide, how great is your love for me. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. How you love me. Okay, guys, it's good to see you this evening. Before we dismiss in prayer, and I'll go back and turn off the recording while we're closing out. Does anyone have any prayer requests? I know we need to continue to keep Frank in our prayers and be uplifting this trip to Romania. What date was that in the books for, Adam? Do you know? Remember? 23rd. Okay. All right. So be specifically praying for that, and I know Sean mentioned this morning if you plan to give, just write it out to the church and put missions on it. So all right. Anybody else though? All right, Mr. Elijah, will you dismiss us, please?